Dynamesh and Sculptris Pro offer dynamic resolution sculpting. Typically, stretching your mesh in any way will degrade your poly resolution for future sculpting purposes and more. However, once Dynamesh is activated, ZBrush will quickly generate a new model with evenly distributed polygons, all while retaining form. Increase or decrease your poly count by adjusting the resolution slider and clear a mask in your viewport. Dynamesh can cut holes as well as merge individual meshes together. The resolution of your mesh is directly linked to your ability to create details. However, when Sculptris Pro mode is enabled on your brush, you can add geometry locally as you brush across your mesh. In this demo, we're going to use Dynamesh to create a stylized Uzi gun. I went ahead and duplicated this cube, and I'm stretching the main cube here, and this will form the body of our Uzi gun. And the duplicated piece here that I'm placing will form the handle. I like to keep it simple, just using primitives to block things out. Just enable groups and hit Dynamesh, and this will allow me to Dynamesh all portions of my model separately that are divided by polygroups. It's a good way to change your resolution without merging pieces. Now with this duplicated cube, I place it at the bottom to form the clip, and I'm just scaling it from front, and I'm just slimming down everything, handled down, just trying to get those proportions roughly. And now with that in place, I'm just gonna go ahead and polygroup that cube we had placed. And if you guessed it, I'm just gonna go ahead and clone that. Control click and drag. I'm gonna make sure that tool is centered when scaling outwards. And I'm gonna use this to place in for what I'm assuming is the release or locking clip for the clip. So that'll just be in place for that. Okay, and from the front view here, I'm just gonna mask out the corner with symmetry enabled. And now I'm just gonna unmask the middle portion here, as well as all of the back there, as well as a bit of the edge. And now, having inverted my mask, I'm just gonna place my Gizmo 3D by alt clicking, and I'm just gonna stretch upwards. Alright, just trying this time with control click and drag to see if that would have kept things a bit sharper. Now I'm just hitting these edges with a little bit of smooth. We can trim them down later to sharpen them up. Now I'm going to this side cube here, duplicating it and placing it near the bottom of the base. And this is going to form the lower portion of the body, the main body of the Uzi. It kind of has a slight taper, so I'm just going to use the trim brush to just cut away at these portions and form that shape that we're looking for in there. And now from the front, I'm just going to turn off symmetry, center my Gizmo 3D and stretch. And now I'm just going to go ahead and turn off my line so you can see that everyone has their own poly group. And just turn them back on there. And now from the front view, I'm just going to hold control, size up my brush, and just tap and create a circular mask. Invert and just pull with my Gizmo 3D to just form that barrel. And I'm just going to go ahead and Dynamesh, increasing my resolution a bit, and Dynameshing. Alright, so now I want to address these edges here with a bit of smoothing. But first I'm just going to mask off that barrel, polygroup it, and now when we Dynamesh, it's its own separate piece of geometry. So I'm just going to come in here and smooth. After masking it off, I'm just going to look at it from the front view here. Okay, and now from this view, I'm just going to hold Control, click and drag on that arrow to drag out a duplicate of that cylinder. Mask the front portion, drag to extend. And now I'm just going to mask to polygroup it. And now that we have that polygrouped, I'm just going to come in from the front view here and draw the mask like we did before. I just Control click to sharpen it. And now I'm going to pull this circle inward just to create a bit of a edge there. And just hit it with a bit of smooth. And as we're working, I'm just Dynameshing to mostly clean up resolution issues. But as we begin to sculpt, we can add resolution to give us more detail here. And I'm just using the IMM brush, IMM primitives, to insert this cylinder. And my plan is to use it as the, not the handle, but the trigger guard, I guess you call it. And now from the side view here, I'm using the Move Infinite brush, which is made to work from profile views like this. And I'm just pretty much just shaping it into place, just paying attention to the thickness. And this brush is great with performing little distortion, but you still should monitor it. But there's many ways to create a trigger like this. This is the first thing that just came to my mind. Alright, I think we just about got that. Just gonna center my Gizmo 3D and just thin it, scale it in a bit there. Pull it down. And I'm pretty happy with that. Go back to this base cube over here. Duplicate. And I'm just going to create a trigger. Just get it into place. Pull the guard down. And just pretty much size up that trigger. And now I'm just going to go back to the Move Infinite brush. Could use a combination of masking or move brush, but this brush just works perfectly for such an occasion. Another duplicate of the cube, and this is going to form what I believe is the sights in the reference image there. And I'm just masking off the lower portion here, and I'm just going to use a transpose tool to clip things into shape here. You could use a clip or the trim brush as well. There's no wrong answers. It's usually what you prefer in ZBrush. Okay, and now I'm just gonna scale in that sight. And from the front here, I'm just gonna mask out a portion of the sight with symmetry enabled. And I'm just going to use a scale to pull downwards. You could just use the move brush, the move as well. Alright, and now that we have that into place, I'm just going to hide that cube. Hit delete hidden, because I believe we have all the pieces we need from that. Now we're just going to perform a few more edits to our sculpt here. I'm just stretching out the main body using the Gizmo 3D, as well as moving some things into place. This is where having your parts polygroup really help, as I'm just control clicking to unmask entire meshes and just performing these quick edits. And now I'm going to use the clip brush to just shorten that part of the model there. And next I'm just going to isolate this base and clip that from the front to give that slight bevel. Okay, now I'm going to go to the slice brush and slice right across the top here. I'm going to try not to slice the body. And with groups turned on, after Dynameshing, these are now separate pieces. As you can see the seams as I smooth them. And now with them unmasked, I'm just going to stretch them up a bit more. As you see, Dynamesh is really handy in just carving up your mesh, especially taking advantage of that groups feature. I'm just going to switch back to the clip brush and just add some bevels to these rails. Not sure what they are. And just zoom out a bit here. And on the handle, I just want to stretch that upward to get a nice straight edge. And now got that handle. I'm going to go ahead to the IMM primitives, grab a capsule shape and just drag that on and size it up. And I'm going to use this to create those two stripes along the sides, slight indents or extrusions, I guess you call them, along the sides. I'm just scaling it down and stretching it. And now I'm just gonna just insert it right into the side there. And we get into place, I'm just gonna go ahead and duplicate it. I control click and dragging. And what I just did there's something I do often is moving my gizmo to the side so I can see better. So now with that standard brush that I set up as a alpha brush, I'm just changing my brush settings. And now I'm going to go ahead and grab this circular alpha here and just drag out some dots to represent our screws. And I'm just pressing shift and 1 to use replay last relative. And that's great for just maintaining the same size of our strokes there. Now at any point in time, as long as you don't have subdivision levels, you can activate Sculptris Pro. I'm going to use it to create that diamond pattern on what I'm going to call the barrel cap. Now using that standard brush that we used to make a alpha brush, I'm just testing out this star alpha for the resolution our Sculptris Pro brush is going to give us. Now I loaded up this diamond alpha, just tweaking my Z intensity. And next I'm going to turn on symmetry, radial, pick the right axis as well as my count. And now we're going to test our stroke. Okay. And next, last tricky part is the placement. And I'm using shift 1 to use the replay last relative. Just going to start over, try to place those a little bit better. And we're using like a couple of things here to really get the most out of this. We're using the advantage of symmetry, the local detailing of Sculptris Pro, as well as the ability to Dynamesh whenever we need. And here are our results here. As you can see, Dynamesh and Sculptris are incredibly useful, allowing you to change your resolution at any time while retaining form. It is extremely invaluable. Join me in the next clip where we will discuss masking.